Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Bangor on this extremely, I'm having some audio. On this extremely chilly morning. I hear from the crowd that put on the warming center. I don't know how to do that. It's still talking to me. Yeah. Anyway, that the warming center that we had Monday and Tuesday night here was very successful. So we should all feel extremely pleased at being part of a welcoming community. Those of you who maybe haven't heard already, Lori and I, as part of the leads of the worship committee, are doing the service this morning because Reverend Drew has come down with COVID. So he's not going to be here. And last minute, we're pitch hitting, and I will be doing his sermon as well. So. We are a highly flexible worship team. All right. I'm going to turn, therefore, after the welcoming, I'm going to turn it over to Lori, and after she does the brief announcements we have, she will also allow any newcomers to also welcome themselves to us. Thank you.
Am I going to offer people to introduce themselves? Okay. Hi, good morning. So we just have a few announcements this morning. If you didn't already smell it when you came through the Dorothy, we are having a super Sunday. So this is an exciting time when we can all gather together and have soup after the service. So please plan on doing that. And then we have drumming that will start getting ready for drumming around 11:30. So go have something to eat, come and drum. We've got lots of drums, so you'd be welcome to join us. You see in your bulletin that there is going to be a worship lab today. Well, because of Reverend Drew not being here, not being well, there will not be a worship lab. Game night is next Saturday evening, and woohoo! And that's usually an absolute blast. This year it's going to be down in the vestry, and it's my understanding that we have a couple of cornhole things that we're going to be able to play besides table games, so be prepared. And is the fair trade stuff, is there any more fair trade stuff left? Do we know? There might be some of the last of the fair trade stuff out in the Dorothy after the service that will be for sale. They're stopping doing that. Some of us, we had a very exciting weekend with the Martin Luther King breakfast, and then we went to the Maine Multicultural Center retreat for those who are helping immigrants in our area. Connie has cards that tell immigrants what to do if they were to be stopped by ICE or if ICE were to come to their home or their place of business. So they're in English and French and Arabic and Spanish, and Connie has cards. So if you know someone who might need to have a card like this to refer to if they get stopped by ICE or the police, then please get a card from Connie. And you can have it right inside the Dorothy? Okay. So they'll be all there ready for you to take them. And there's plenty more. There were loads of them that we could get more if we need to. So if there's anyone new to us today or who hasn't been around for a while, and if you'd like to introduce yourself, please raise your hand, and Carrie will bring you the microphone.
I might not need a microphone. I'm pretty loud. My name is Jamie, and okay, all right.
Yay!
Technology. My name is Jamie, and I found out about you guys in the Warman Center that you just had through Leanne. I work with Leanne, and I didn't get a chance to volunteer for the Warman Center, but I wanted to check you guys out anyway, and I'm just really glad to be here.
Welcome. Anybody else want to, we got another one back here, Carrie.
And just as a heads up, as a teacher with a very loud voice, the reason that we are all using the mic is because there is hearing assistance, and this also helps for the people who are watching at home. So it
Oh,
feels,
yes, hi, Zumi, so I didn't
it
say
feels
hi.
really weird using this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Hare, and I think it's been about 19 years since I've been here. Nice to meet you. I live in Bucksport.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Alex Bickford. I have also not been here in a decade plus. I'm the son of Tom and Gail Bickford, so some of you might recognize the family name. And I'm here with my friends Rose and Zach, who are trying it out.
Welcome.
Rose, Zach, it's nice to meet you guys.
Want to come back up here, Carrie?
I am so sorry.
Hi, I'm David Weeda from Bucksport, and I love being able to remind you that I was here 2 years ago, and I was honored to give the Charlie Howard Memorial Service. And then I think the very next year, I was knocking at your door, and you responded with some funding for Bucksport Pride second year, 2022. And I was also here Tuesday night as a volunteer at the Warming Center, so thank you all for opening that beautiful space for some citizens that really appreciated it, and I loved making food for them, and I played the piano for them, and just a beautiful
blessed
evening,
be.
keeping people warm and safe in a space that was so nurturing. Thanks, glad to be here.
Thank you, and welcome. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Terry, and this is my friend Gina. Another friend of mine actually asked us to come, but she's homesick, but we came anyways, and just to check it out.
Welcome.
Glad you're here.
Well, welcome to all of you, and welcome to everybody on Zoom. All right, I'm going to go down, and you can center us.
I think I want to welcome back Jack as well, and family. Normally, Reverend Drew says a little centering piece. We are just going to take a moment to take a deep breath. And Sojourner and the choir will lead us into the introit.
This is a contemporary song from the Seneca Nations, and the words are Nisa and Gaweo. And Nisa means the winter moon in January, and Gaweo is roughly translated as the creator, who is also the creation.
So this morning, to light our chalice, we have Cassandra coming up to light the chalice. And she will do this while I read this reading. In the soft light of this flame, in the soft light of this flame, may our lives shimmer anew. May we notice new possibility in those relationships that seem lost. May the turning of the year give birth to a dream. May the emerging light pull a new story into view. May what is give way to what might be. May we believe again that there is a tale of the world still waiting to be written. Blessed be. Our opening hymn this morning is number 347, Gather the Spirit. I just have to say that it's really quite cool to be up here and watch all of you looking this direction as you sing, because you're reading the words off the screen, but it just makes it all seem so much more alive than just looking at the hymnal. So thank you for doing that and letting me see you. All right, now is the time when we are going to invite all of those young and young at heart to come down to the rug and to join Phyllis as she is going to give us the story that Reverend Drew selected for this service. So come on down.
All right.
This story is called The Beautiful Tiger. There once was a beautiful and powerful tiger, and I hope you know your animals apart to know which one that is. One day, she was captured by a mean and cruel man who put her into a cage. The man kept the cage in the jungle, not far from his house. Every day, he would bring out a bowl of water and some food for the lonely tiger. Sometimes the tiger would see her own reflection in the bowl of water, and she would say, "My, I must be a beautiful tiger." When the man heard her say this, he would lie and tell her, "No, you are not a beautiful tiger. You're very ugly. You're a pitiful creature." Sadly, the tiger would believe the man. Some days after she ate her food, she would walk back and forth in her small cage and feel energy and power moving through her body, and she would say, "My, I must be a powerful tiger." When the man heard her say this, he would lie and tell her, "No, you are weak and puny. You're a pitiful creature." Sadly, the tiger would believe the man. Then one day, when the man was nowhere around, a lion happened to walk by the cage. The lion saw the tiger inside and spoke to her. "Beautiful and powerful tiger, what are you doing lying about in that cage?" "Do not make fun of me," replied the tiger. "I know that I am neither beautiful nor powerful." "I'm not making fun of you," said the lion. "You are surely the most beautiful and powerful tiger I have ever seen. I am only surprised to see you lying here when you are clearly strong enough to break out of that cage." "You really think I could break out of here?" asked the tiger. "Quite easily, I should think," replied the lion. The tiger was not so sure at first. She had been told so many times that she was a weak and pitiful creature. But suddenly it seemed that she could feel energy and strength moving through her body. She began to pace back and forth in her cage, and then, almost without thought, she leapt against the cage door, and it flew open without any resistance. Once outside, she seemed dazed. "That cage didn't even have a lock on it," she said. "I spent so much of my life stuck in there, and the door wasn't even locked." The lion looked at her with soft brown eyes and said, "Those kinds of traps don't need locks, for it is the lies we believe in that keep us in our cages, and it is the truth that sets us free." Blessed be. Any lessons that you learned from that, O wise one?
I learned, I honestly forgot. Don't always believe what people say.
Did you forget it again? You'll think of it later. We can talk about it. I remember when I forget. I know. That's okay. It's all right. I do that all the time. Well, thank you very much for sharing the story with me. I love that Reverend Drew took the story because we are really talking about the practice and the use of stories and storytelling in our lives this morning. And I hope you'll follow through with some of that in your classes. So we dismiss you to go to your class downstairs, I believe. Well, that was great.
So now is the time in our service when we share those joys and sorrows in our lives that are either celebratory or weighing on our hearts. So anyone in the sanctuary who would like to light a candle for joy or sorrow, please come around and you do that over here. And those of you on Zoom, just type it into the chat and I will read it out and we'll light your candle.
We always light the last candle for all those.
Let's light a candle for Reverend Drew.
Oh, of course. I was going to do that anyway. So, for Reverend Drew, if you're watching us, I hope we'll do you proud. And this is for you to heal as quickly as possible so you can rejoin this beloved community. And in that candle, we include all those here in the beloved community congregation with us this morning who may have a joy or concern, a grief, or a sorrow that hasn't been spoken, but you're keeping it deep in your heart. We are with you. Know that we are with you. You are not alone. And to all those who exist in this greater Bangor Brewer community who don't have a community like this, like ours, to share, we are also holding you in our hearts. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
We can join in our singing of
Spirit of life.
Spirit of Life.
Now is the time in our service where we pass the plates to collect the pledge. This is the last Sunday in January, so we are still collecting half of the plate. Undesignated plate will go to the Shaw House and the work they do with the teens in the area. So we will pass the plates. Blessed be. Our reading this morning is entitled When We Pause to Remember. It's by Reverend Alicia Ford, and it's from a writing that she did called, or a book, To Wake, to Rise, Meditations on Justice and Resilience. When we pause to remember who we are, companions on this grand experiment called life, when we take a moment to shed the ways we have been carefully taught to lead, from fear to punish the poor, to persecute those who don't look like we do, to deny rights to those who love, to believe that we are separate, that some people are superior to others. When we take a moment to shed all of that and hear our stories, hear and see each other into existence, into community. When we take a moment to embrace, to practice a different way of being, when we answer the call of love, then we are living in the promise of building the world we dream about. Oh, it is a beautiful dream. To cast a vision, to stretch our minds into the future and imagine what may be if we were to build a new way of being. Not someday, but beginning today, beginning every day that we take a breath. Taking courage with these hands and hearts to make real the dream of a more equitable world, to journey together, seeking to be transformed even as we transform, becoming explorers and learners in this world around us, humbled by what we do not yet know, fulfilling the promise of healing a fragmented world, laboring not just in hope, but also in love. In the Spirit we commit, in the Spirit we gather, and in the Spirit we pray. Amen, and blessed be.
Fields
I feel very honored this morning to share these words with you from the Reverend Drew. His own story, mindfully embracing our stories. Stories. They are an integral part of our lives. They provide the means through which we interpret our sense of self, others around us, and the world. They are the tools used to teach values and meaning. They are the means by which knowledge is transformed from one group to another and from generation to generation. Stories have the power to share data and convey emotion, intuition, well-being, and danger. Before we even learn to talk, our parents, or the people who raise us, start telling us stories to teach language, comprehension, learning, and bonding with their children. Stories can do many great things. They can persuade people to see a different point of view, change their minds, and entrench someone in a particular point of view so strongly that even when presented with contrary information, people often struggle to let go of that initial perception. Think of the story of the tiger trapped in an unlocked cage. However, the story that the captor kept telling the tiger made the tiger buy into that narrative of being ugly and weak. One of our congregation's former friends, Jane McLaughlin, had a saying that she used to share with her students so on point as being related to the mindset of our tiger. It says, "Aim high so you don't shoot yourself in the foot." Most of us have had some experiences in our lives that is somewhat related to the story of the tiger. This reminds me of an experience I had early on in life, right after I graduated from high school. Some of you may have heard this story before, but those who have joined in the last 7 or 8 years probably haven't. When I graduated from high school, I applied for and was accepted into an internship program at the Unitarian Universalist Association headquarters in Boston. I had the title of Youth Program Intern. In that position, I got to do quite a bit of interesting traveling around the country, meeting with youth groups, and leading youth empowerment and leadership seminars. That was part of the job I loved. The other part was being part of a complicated bureaucracy and being the voice of youth in the UUA decision-making. At the time, the UUA was going through some significant turmoil. They had a working capital problem, meaning they did not have a lot of money because they were spending money on buying new property on Beacon Hill, which is still some of the most expensive real estate in the country. Because of these acquisitions, they were slashing money to support congregations and SE programs and had to reorganize staff. Decisions were being made about where to put support people in the new buildings. Staff was put into tiny closets where they had to walk from one floor to the other to find a printer, and most of the VPs had large offices designed to entertain people a couple of times a year, but most of the VPs were moving around so much that they rarely spent time in those offices. When support staff questioned their decisions, the administration dismissed it by saying, "Well, that is what the consultant told us to do." Soon I became very disillusioned with how decisions were being made, and I felt unempowered to do anything about it. At the end of my internship, I was asked to lead the staff worship service that happens once a week at the UUA headquarters. I was a little apprehensive at first, but when I asked if doing a regular youth-style worship service would be okay, I was told that I have free rein on topic and format. Hymns were led by guitar, And in the service, I asked some questions in my sermon that I thought were ripe for reflection. Those reflections included if the process we were using was living up to our Unitarian Universalist values. The service had significantly mixed reviews. The president of the Unitarian Universalist Association was livid that I should bring such a topic or reflection into our worship service. He called me to his office and proceeded to ream me out and tell me this is why people like you, meaning me, should never be allowed to lead worship. The other upper levels of administrations mostly shunned me for the last 2 months I was there. Many of the support staff came up to me in the hall, gave me high fives, telling me they were so glad that somebody said something about the tension that existed at the UUA at that time. The only vice president who really talked to me was Loretta Williams, the UUA vice president in charge of social justice. There are many ways to interpret the story. For me, I felt deep shame at being reamed out by the president of the UUA and shunned by many upper-level administration members who I thought of as friends. I clearly touched a tender spot. I thought I had been kind and gentle in the reflective way I shared. I asked the question, but did not answer it. I left my internship 2 months later with a whimper. I did not pass go, I did not collect $200, and I was so eager to get out of there that I am sure I forgot to turn the lights off. I left that position not knowing if I could ever call myself a Unitarian Universalist again. I went back to Detroit and dropped out of UU culture. My salvation came over a decade later when I moved to Connecticut. Through a strange set of circumstances, I reconnected with the UU congregation in Manchester, Connecticut. I was very reluctant to become part of the community, but when I attended it, I was amazed at how the people in that congregation strove to live their UU values in a way that resonated deeply with me. During my 3rd year there, the congregation called a new minister. The new minister, it turned out, had followed me to Boston. He rented the same bedroom I had abandoned when I left, and he hung out with the same people I had hung out with as a youth intern. It was creepy. For almost a year, I did not meet with Reverend Josh. I was already in seminary, but I felt very self-conscious about talking to him because I'm sure there are stories about this crazy youth intern from Detroit, Michigan, who disrupted things at the UUA a dozen years ago. Finally, one day, Josh cornered me and said, "Hey, Drew, I have this feeling you're trying to avoid me. I've been here for almost a year and we still have not really talked." I was very aware that I had been avoiding him, and so somehow I mustered up the gusto to say as much. He was surprised and asked why. I told him because I was ashamed of the way things ended in Boston, and I'm sure that he heard all kinds of stories about what terrible things I had done and what a horrible person I had been and how I disrupted the culture at the UUA. I blabbed on for a while, and he just listened, and then what he said surprised me. First, he said, "Drew, I wish you could see yourself right now in the mirror. A few moments ago, you were upright and bright and cheery. Now you are slumped over, wearing a frown and avoiding eye contact. It seems to me," he said, "you've got the story all wrong." What? I said. What are you talking about? You weren't even there. Well, he said, I don't know many high schoolers who could pack up, move across country, and get planted down in the middle of a huge organizational bureaucracy and still have the clarity of mind and spirit to speak their truth to power. You should be proud of that moment, not ashamed. When I first had this moment of awakening, I was deeply saddened by the 12 or 13 years that I ran away from Unitarian Universalism. But it wasn't until later that I could reinterpret that story and decide that I needed those 12 or 13 years to learn other things that have deeply informed my life. This story about my experience at the UUA illustrates how the same event, the same story, and the same set of circumstances can be received in different ways. There's the interpretation of the hero, and there's the interpretation of the shamed and unheroic. I'm sure if I asked some of the people who were there, they would all have their different takes on what happened too. This is an extremely important awareness for us as spiritual people. How we approach the stories we associate with our faith and belief is essential. One of the wisest things we can do as spiritual people is to understand the power of a story and do our best to use it wisely and helpfully, instead of using the story as a means of oppression or the creator's suffering. To do that, we have two essential tools available to us. The first is community, a place where we come together to tell our stories and hopefully where people can hear and help us reflect on our stories. Sometimes in retelling them, others hear things we do not. Others might notice the toxicity of blame and shame, or the way that we sometimes get caught up in the loop of arguing for our own limitations and saying, I can't do that, or I tried that in the past and it didn't work, which is a prime opportunity to look the process over and look at the conditions and assess how might one do the same thing differently that might lead to success. Having friends like that lion who challenge us to push on the door and find it unlocked. The second skill in our toolbox is spiritual practice. You've heard me talk a lot about the importance of spiritual practice, but this is one of the places it shows big and helps us live healthier and happier lives. Spiritual practice is helpful when it allows us to assess the stories and experiences of our lives from a non-judgmental or reactive place. In this place, we can see the dynamics of our part in experiences and the parts we have no control over. Having a space where one can use some methodology to examine the stories we tell and how we tell them can open us up to a whole new set of understandings and possibilities. This, in turn, gives us freedom. Freedom from the suffering caused by learning opportunities that we have had in the past, but were clouded by judgment. Freedom to let go of the things we can't control, and the freedom to rewrite the narrative and interpretation of our stories and look for ways to grow in our love and inclusion that are just for ourselves and the whole world. This sort of engaged spiritual practice is also becoming a necessary tool that we all need these days to separate out the confusing and convolution of facts over stories that have no basis in fact, that are completely designed to mislead spread falsehood, and create fear. This kind of methodological reflection helps us see through the rhetoric that leads to oppression, racism, classism, sexism, and anti-LGBTQ beliefs, and many others. There is much to say about that, but I will save that for another sermon. For now, may you be happy, healthy, and comfortable in your mind and your stories. They have so much to teach us if we can approach them with kindness, compassion, and love. May it be so. Thank you, Reverend Drew. Our closing song this morning, the lyrics is called "I Will Change Your Name." The lyrics are on the screen. The choir is going to run through the entire song first, so listen, and then you can join in the second time.
Worship has come to a close. You live with your stories. You listen with love and compassion to the stories of others. May it be so, and blessed be. Yeah.